This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby.
This magic moment, so different and so new.
Well, John, welcome to Katz and Cosby. It may not be a magical moment. We'll find out. The big debate next week.
Well, it's a big debate, and it's going to be one-on-one. RFK has been disqualified. RFK cannot be in the debate.
Which I think it would have been really interesting to have him in the debate. He certainly would have added a layer of some more surprises. Don't you think, Rudy Washington? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so, because I told you what I thought about the debate. I think it's a setup. You got to believe a large percentage of the Biden camp thinks he should not run, and it's only a handful of people around him that want him to do this so that they can keep
Is that
power.
the guys that don't want to lose their jobs?
Right.
Just checking.
So they put him out there to fall on his face, but he could come in, as the judge says, juiced up.
They'll juice him up, just like the State of the Union.
Well, they're going to have to do a lot of juicing.
Well, they did it last time.
Well,
beware the expectations game.
Well, beware of what he's saying, you guys. I want to play this, John, because this is another moment. This just happened yesterday, John, when he was making this big announcement.
It's unedited?
It's unedited. It's the real deal.
I don't want the White House coming on and says, you edited it, Rita.
Never. This is the real deal, John. This is not a cheap fake or a deep fake. This is his own words, and I saw it when he said it live, and here he is. This is the president yesterday. He's trying to say his Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas. Listen to this.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm going to introduce you all the way.
Could someone translate that?
Yeah. Translate the man should not be running for presidency of the United States. Translate that.
John, that is unedited. That is him saying one of his most important cabinet secretaries, who he says all the time, he's doing a scheduled announcement and he couldn't get the word out. John?
John can't get the word out. John can't believe that guy's running for president.
Well, we got a great show for you today. We're going to have Governor Patterson to come and tell us. I mean, the social democrats are mad as heck about Bowman, Congressman Bowman, being 17 points behind
a common sense guy, George Latimer.
And I think Governor Patterson has supported him. And we're going to also ask Governor Patterson. Last time I looked, he was black. And we have Rudy Washington to talk about today's Juneteenth.
Yeah, an important
day. What
does
Juneteenth means to the black community. Also, New York One. New York One says, and I want to have Governor Patterson's opinion and your opinion, Rudy, that the black people in America hate Biden, but they hate Trump more.
I don't. Obviously, there is a large percentage that would fall into that basket. But, however,
is that a basket of deplorables?
Yes.
We're gonna save it.
Okay.
Save it. We're teasing it because you and Patterson are going to talk about it.
Hold that thought.
And you're a registered Republican. Governor Patterson's a registered Democrat. Why not talk about it? I mean, you won't be as bad as Wiener and Dominic Carter yelling at each other, but we'll talk.
We'll try to get you to yell.
No, that's my buddy. Yeah, please.
All right, who do we have on?
Well, we have Michael Goodwin, Pulitzer Prize winning columnist for the New York Post. And Michael, let's get right to the other big story of the day. This horrible case of an Ecuadorian. He was an illegal migrant. He was supposed to be deported. And now in the last few minutes, he has been charged. Thank goodness they busted the guy. The neighborhood did, which I love, street justice. But now he has at least been charged. He is being held for the horrible rape of this 13-year-old girl when he kidnapped her and the male friend in the park in Queens. Your thoughts, first of all, because this, to me, you see these headlines of what happened here, and you see what happened with the Maryland mother, too. They're hitting people to a core, and it's a reminder why you don't have open borders.
Well, that's right, Rita, because from what I gather, what I've read about his background, I mean, this is not his first brush with the law. So, of course, he comes into the country illegally, but he's captured and then released as, Joe Biden, 2021. Fox reports he had several low-level prior offenses, including subway fare jumping and drinking in public. He was also involved in a domestic violence incident where no charges were filed, and he had an unspecified arrest in Texas. So he's a one-man crime wave. I mean, he's just a troublemaker who does all of these things sort of off the books, on the sidelines, probably doesn't, has never had an honest job. And this case, of course, is the most horrible of all. But this is also an example of the broken windows theory, that this guy keeps committing lower-level offenses, nothing happens to him, and then, boom, he does something like this, supposedly, allegedly. But I just think that, as you say, there's no vetting, so we don't know who these people are. For all we know, he was a prisoner in Ecuador, or a gang member in Ecuador. We don't know who these people are. And that is the great tragedy of what Joe Biden did by opening the border. He invited everybody in, regardless of their life, regardless of their qualifications, regardless of their intent, their abilities. Come on, come one, come all. And this is what we got in this case.
That is the stupidest thing I ever heard. You're absolutely right. There are some people, we have a civilized community in our cities, or we used to have a civilized community. Some people are not meant to live among civilized people.
No. John, years ago, I was talking to Ray Kelly about, there had been a spate of cops doing things they shouldn't have been doing. Some of them broke the law and everything. And we were talking about it. And Ray was such a philosopher as well as a great leader. And he said, the one thing I've worked hardest at is to make sure we don't recruit our problems. In other words, you stop these people before they get on the force. And when you fail, you get a problematic police officer. And what we have done in this country, we have imported our problems. Why would we do that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Michael Goodwin, too, as we were talking about this case, and you talked about the priors. The other case, that Maryland case of the mother of 5 who was murdered, in that case, the guy was from El Salvador, and he's accused of murder in El Salvador. And then he gets into the United States, and he committed a series of really horrible crimes before he even murdered this beautiful mother of 5 in Maryland. It's like, El Salvador's not telling us. They're, Ecuador, these countries, a lot of them are not sharing their track record with us. We don't know who's here.
That's right. There's no real vetting. There's nothing you can count on. I mean, our relations with Venezuela, of course, are awful. So why would Venezuela cooperate with us? Why wouldn't they want to send their worst?
Yeah, they're happy they're here.
Rid of them? That's right. And don't forget, these countries, too, are all counting on remittances, right? You go to America, you work, and you send money home. Well, we in Venezuela or Ecuador, we have the money you send home, and we don't have you and your problems. Because that's why you see so many young men these countries want to get rid of their unemployed criminal young men. So there is going to be a heavy cohort in these hundreds of thousands that are coming from each of these countries, millions altogether. There's going to be, I think by definition, a heavy cohort of troublemakers.
Yeah, Judge Weinberg.
Michael, right now, the mainstream media is saying as follows, and they're quoting Mayorkas, who was interviewed on this, that this is a right-wing attempt to disparage the migrants and the border policies of the administration. Don't believe your eyes. There is no problem. Why are you attacking our administration's border policies? It's all being spun as right-wing rhetoric. The fact of the matter is, when you don't vet people, you don't know who they are, you have no cooperation with the countries they're coming from, whether these people coming from insane asylums like they did way back with Cuba and the prisons when Castro did that. We are opening ourselves up to enormous tragedies, and these are not isolated instances, and they will continue. And how many people have to lose their lives, be raped or murdered, before the American people wake up and say, close the border?
Well, I hope more and more are waking up every day. So you think about the poor family of these children, these 13-year-olds in this case. But, I'm going to go back to something you said about Mayorkas, because I think that was not an incidental comment he made about this is all right-wing stuff. This is now a talking point of the administration, which the left-wing media is now reinforcing by saying only the right wing cares about this stuff. This is all just to help Trump. I mean, they are become so calloused in their desire to destroy Donald Trump that they would hold the safety of these children as hostages to it, because they don't want to report anything that will make Joe Biden look bad. And so Mayorkas, I believe, is putting out the talking point there for the left-wing media, and you can bet they'll march to the music.
Yeah, you can bet. Well, Michael Goodwin, thank you very much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. Serious stuff. Thank you very much.
Michael.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
And now we go deep to the heart of Texas.
The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas.
And joining us now, John, here on Katz and Cosby, is Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne from the great state of Texas. And Congresswoman, it's great to have you here. We've just been talking about these enormous threats that are happening to our homeland, these huge high-profile cases. And what does President Biden do? He comes out with a plan to give more amnesty to make the border more open. What, are you just shaking your head?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, look, Biden could not have given a clearer signal that he really believes the future of America. The future of America and the permanent Democrat power comes through vast illegal immigration and turning them into citizens. I mean, this latest amnesty move, it's illegal, first of all, and it's utterly disgusting because it's done at a time right now when Americans are horrified by the circumstances of the rape and the murder of a mom of 5, the violent rape at knife point of a 13-year-old girl in Queens. I mean, both of these have been committed by illegal immigrants brought in by Biden and the Democrats who are allowing it to continue. I mean, think about this. Polling has shown there's over 60% of Americans that want mass deportation. I agree with them. When moms and daughters and children are being slaughtered by illegal immigrant criminals, we have over 110,000 Americans that are dead as a result of fentanyl coming in over our border. And surely we have terrorist cells that are operating in our country, and all because Biden has blown up our borders from day one.
Well, these immigrants, these migrants, the people the ones that commit crimes, even if they're minor crimes or whatever, I think those are the ones you get rid of first. I mean, you can't deport 9 million people at the same time. Let's at least get rid of the criminals.
Yeah, set your priorities.
We don't want the criminals here. Send them to Zambia or something. I mean, I don't care where we send them, but get them out of New York. Get them out of the United States of America. They don't belong here.
I have firsthand experience with this. So I was mayor of the city of Irving, Texas. Irving, Texas, 92nd largest city in the country, about 250,000 people. Most diverse zip code in the country. Now, when I was mayor, when I was in the city council, we had a program that we worked very well with immigration and customs enforcement. And when we stopped people who were committing a crime in our city, if they could not prove their citizenship, we detained them. We contacted ICE. ICE came and interviewed them. If they were found to be in our country illegally, guess what? They were deported. We had more deportations per capita in my city than any other city in the country. And we were called everything under the sun. You know, negative. New York Times did an article about us. We were racist. We were bigots. We were haters. But here's what we found. Crime plummeted. We became the 5th safest city in the country. And even though all of these news agencies threatened that we were going to have people move out, businesses were going to leave, we became one of the fastest growing communities in the country, both economically and population-wise. Because guess what? Businesses and people want to live in a community where laws are enforced, people feel safe, and they can thrive.
Civilized people want a civilized city. And if it can't be civilized and it's being caused by our politicians, the heck with them. Former Deputy Mayor Rudy Washington, what say you?
Yes, Congresswoman. You know what my greatest fear is, having lived through 9/11 and being there?
Tell me.
China has stood up an army in our country. They have stood up an army in our country.
30,000 have come in.
Exactly. You know, and rest assured, you don't leave China unless Xi Jinping allows it. All right? So my greatest fear is, what are they going to do here? And if you don't think the Iranians haven't put people in place and the Russians haven't put people in place, yeah, we're kidding ourselves. And lastly, what I want to say is this notion, I mean, President Obama said it first. He says we're no longer a Christian nation, which I almost fell off my chair. The foundation of America is the Judeo-Christian values. And if you throw it out the window, all you have is chaos. And what the Democrats are doing now is moving us further and further away from what made this country great. Now it's God, faith, and family, and they're moving us away from it, and it's not going to work.
Civilization,
John.
Congresswoman?
Agree with you. Yeah, no, I agree with you 1,000%. I mean, we're losing our values of what makes us such an amazing country. I mean, the fact that our values, American history, is not really even taught in our schools today, and what they're learning on college campuses across the country is basically to hate America and to think that if you live here, if you were born here, that we're all racist.
And Congresswoman, you know what people don't understand? We became the greatest nation on the face of the earth in less than 200 years. When you look at how old Europe is, how old Japan and Russia, all these other countries, they're thousands of years old. And here we come up, and less than 200 years, and we're the number one power in the country, in the world, and we're throwing it away. I just don't, I don't know what's the matter with the Democrats. I really don't. I think there's just an evil spirit hovering over Washington, D.C. It just doesn't make any sense at all what they're doing to the country.
It's all about power. It's all about power. I mean, all this chaos, the destruction, the death that's been inflicted on America on purpose by Biden and Democrats, it's because they see mass illegal immigration, no matter the cost, as their way to hold on to power.
And they'll throw away the country?
You've heard these elected representatives. You've heard the representatives say it. We need to allow more people in here illegally so that we can keep populations in our districts so that we don't lose blue seats. It's all about power, and they either are ignorant to the cost or they don't care.
Yeah. And just like you said, the costs are so great on this country. I mean, not just for this generation, but generations to come. As John was talking about, all the illegal migrants that are in this country. You can't how are you going to track down 11 to maybe 20 million? It's enormous. Congresswoman, thank you.
But you start.
Yeah. At least, you're right.
Criminal illegals.
Yeah. You got to have the will to start from the White House.
Yep. Well, and when Trump gets elected in November, you'll start seeing it happen. And that's the will of over 60% of Americans, is they want to see that happen. And God love it, maybe those 60% are going to come out and they're going to vote for Trump.
Yeah, and he said he'll do it on day one. Congresswoman, thank you. We love having you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ray. It's great being on.
Thank you so much.
Governor Patterson's coming on, and we're going to discuss today's Juneteenth.
Yeah, and the mayoral race and Jamal Bowman.
I want to know today's Juneteenth, which is a separate holiday from Martin Luther King Day, from Abe Lincoln's birthday. Who is the real spokesman for the black community? Let's take that break.
Long Island is more exciting than ever at Jake's 58 Casino Hotel. Get ready to zoom into some serious cash with Zoom Ball every Wednesday in June. Win up to $500,000. 1 point equals 1 entry. 2 lucky winners will be drawn at the top of every hour from 1 to 5 p.m. to play Zoom Ball. Discover the excitement at Jake's 58 Casino Hotel. If gambling is a problem for you or someone, please call the 24-hour toll-free helpline at 877-8-OPEN or text NY.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
At Jiffy Lube, we care about cars. In fact, we're kind of obsessed. It's why for over 40 years, we have been providing quick and quality service. And with free, instant estimates at jiffylube.com, you can know what to expect, even before your visit. Visit your local Jiffy Lube. We'll car for your car like we car for our own. Jiffy Lube. Car more. Visit jiffylube.com to find coupons and start an instant online estimate.
Show up and run the vibe with Bose SoundLink Max portable speaker. Big stereo sound and deep bass gives the party people the music they can feel. Whether you're at a chill hang or an all-out bash, when you drop your playlist, the party is on. Grab-and-go convenience means it's easy to bring the vibe wherever you are, and it's built to withstand any party spills. All you need to do is press play. Bose SoundLink Max speaker. Start the party at bose.com/Spotify speaker.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Cats and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Cats and Cosby. Well, we love our next guest. He's often here in the studio with us. And joining us now is the former New York governor, Governor Patterson. So great to have you here.
It's great to be on, and if I couldn't be there, I couldn't think of a better person to take my place than Rudy Washington.
Absolutely. That's my buddy. We're supposed to work together. What happened? Who's going to make that happen?
Well,
wait, did he diss you?
Talk about that.
Oh.
Well, Governor, today is Juneteenth. And what is the real holiday for African Americans? Is it Juneteenth? Is it Martin Luther King's birthday? Or is it Abe Lincoln's birthday?
All above.
Well, I think it's thank you, Rudy.
How come you guys get 3 days? I get nothing.
Next question, John.
Isn't there a Greek Independence Day you celebrate too?
No.
Well, I tell you what, John. Go ahead, Dave.
What was interesting is that the federal troops that went into Galveston, Texas,
right,
on some day in June, and they've never really been able to verify which date it was. So that's why they came up with the name Juneteenth. And they were able to free the slaves. That particular army was not scheduled to go there, but when they heard about what was going on there, they decided themselves to go in and prevent anyone else in Galveston from holding slaves. So to me, it's really an American holiday because no matter who it was, if it was found out 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation that this was going on, I think we would all want it stopped. And so I think it's kind of like Columbus Day. It becomes the Italian holiday, but it really is the American holiday. And the same with St. Patrick's Day. So I think all Americans should laud what those federal troops did. and how they were at least able to stop some of the antagonism that existed from the losers after the Civil War.
And the reason why it's Juneteenth is because English was a second language to the Africans, and they didn't pronounce June 19th straight. It came out as Juneteenth, and that's how the holiday got its name.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
New York One has been doing headlines.
Uh-oh.
That the black community...
Rudy's in trouble. Look out. Oh, no.
The black community hates Biden, but they hate Trump more. What say you guys?
Gov Patterson?
Governor, you and me.
I'll start. I think that the black community, and we're not speaking for a whole group of people, but I think there's been a feeling that President Biden has been kind of patronizing at times, gives these speeches about things that are going to happen, and then creates problems like the rate of inflation, and honestly has alienated a lot of African Americans who normally would vote Democratic. But when the choice becomes Donald Trump, they become pretty antagonized because Donald Trump really is not known for ever involving himself in anything that ever helped the community, even when the other big real estate magnates in Manhattan were starting to give some of the minority companies opportunity. He never did that. And so, and then his rhetoric on top of it is, I think, anathema to how many in the black community, not all, but many feel. I will say that I think more people would be interested in supporting him in the community this year than probably in 2020.
Yeah, well, Governor, I'm sure you noticed that Trump was the first one to give grants to African American universities. He funded them.
Rudy, you're absolutely right about that, and that was one thing that was amazing. The historically black colleges and universities had a number of events at the White House while he was president, and I cannot dispute that. It was really very helpful.
And I share your comments because I went through this with Rudy, and I was telling people, that Rudy would get 25% of the black vote in the second election, and he did. And I think what we're seeing now is a lot of people who are beginning to really read and think for themselves and not take the word of media on everything. So you're right. The majority, the former President Trump will not get the majority of the black vote. But I do think 25% is within reach.
Which is huge.
If he gets that, the election is over.
That's what I was going to say. That would seal his presidency.
Governor Patterson, you endorsed Latimer, the Westchester County exec, against Congressman Bowman. But he's only 17 points ahead. And the election is next Tuesday. And the Socialist Democrats are panicking. What say you?
Well, John, it wasn't like I stayed up all night deciding which one of the candidates I wanted to endorse. And I endorsed Latimer long before these polls came out. And the reason is because Jabal Bowman was blessed with intelligence, was granted opportunity, was elected to Congress, and then, for some reason, when he gets to Congress, becomes emboldened, thinks that no one can harm him, and makes all kinds of antagonistic comments, and often little riddles that are really shielding what are really anti-Semitic viewpoints that I think he has. Either he himself is anti-Semitic, or he's using it to stir up people who he knows are anti-Semitic.
He's the one that went to some people and wanted his picture taken with some Jewish people to prove he likes Jews.
Yeah, did you hear this? He texted a Jewish friend.
Some of his
He texted a Jewish friend. He texted a friend and said, "Could you send this picture?
Get me a few Jews in the picture."
Right, I need a picture with you and me together.
Governor speaking.
When you're down 17 points, I guess you'll do just about anything. But the point is that a lot of his ilk, the progressives, they're all upset. and they're sounding the fire alarm that he may be done. And this time it's going to be a real fire, not the one that he set off at the Capitol.
Well, by the way, in case you people out there in listening audience, or maybe a million people, he's the one that pulled the fire alarm to stop the vote in Congress.
He's the one who claimed he didn't until he got caught on camera doing it and then had to concede it.
Yeah, once it was on camera, and it wasn't a phony camera.
Yeah, it wasn't a
cheap congressional camera.
Right?
Excuse me, it's got to be a phony camera.
Yeah, it had to be a cheap fake, right?
Cheap fake.
Okay, we got to take a break. Anything else, Rudy or Governor?
I'm good.
No, John, looking forward to talking to you on Sunday and seeing you tomorrow night.
God bless you, and God bless America. And, hey, may we have peace and freedom for all people in our country. Thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely. How beautiful that we talked about Juneteenth. I love that. Beautiful.
Okay, Rita, any hot news?
It's the top news of the day, sponsored by Goya. Here's Rita Cosby.
Well, we always have hot news here, John. The White House reportedly canceled a high-level meeting with Israeli officials on Iran that was scheduled for tomorrow. The move was in response to a video which was posted by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in which he claimed the U.S. was withholding military aid. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. And also we're going to be talking later on in the show with Judge Andrew Napolitano about this. The U.S. Supreme Court still has some big decisions to hand down before it's expected to recess at the end of the month. The court is going to issue opinions tomorrow and also Friday, and among them could be a big ruling on former President Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution for alleged crimes they say he committed while in office. And also, the heat is rising across the country as feels like temperatures in parts of New York near the triple digits. Mayor Eric Adams is encouraging residents to take advantage of the beaches, sprinklers at parks, and also shady benches. Do whatever you can to stay hydrated and stay cool. And those are the top headlines.
Going for your first ever run around the park. Literally running errands all over town. Running for the finish line and your personal best. If you run, you're a runner. Find the shoes and clothes to run your way at newbalance.com/running. New Balance. Run your way.
Ask your doctor about Air Supra, albuterol budesonide. Eligible patients can pay as little as $0 per inhaler, subject to eligibility rules and maximum savings limits. Restrictions may apply. Visit airsuprasavings.com to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Buffalo Trace Distillery. Powerful yet smooth. Contained but never tame. Proudly going their own way, but never going alone. This is the spirit inside Buffalo Trace Bourbon. Made at Buffalo Trace Distillery, the world's most award-winning distillery. Buffalo Trace is always perfectly untamed. Distilled, aged, and bottled by Buffalo Trace Distillery, Franklin County, Kentucky. 90 proof, 45% alcohol by volume. Learn more at buffalotracedistillery.com. Please drink responsibly.
At Evernorth Health Services, we believe costs shouldn't get in the way of life-changing care, and we're doing everything in our power to make it possible. Behavioral health solutions that also keep your projections at their best? It's possible. Pharmacy benefits that benefit your bottom line? It's possible. Complex specialty care that cares about your ROI? It's possible. Because we're already doing it. All while saving businesses billions. That's Wonder made possible. Learn more at evernorth.com/wonder.
You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, we have with us today Mario Economou, and we're going to find out what the heck is really going on in Israel and with Hezbollah and what's going on in, well, maybe you'll talk about the Ukraine too. Mario, give us an update.
Yes, hello there, everybody. So this is what happened. In the last 36 hours, Hezbollah had a drone which went up, and they actually were able to overfly Israeli airspace and take pictures and stream them to a live feed of the port in Haifa where the Israeli warships are, as well as the refineries where Israel keeps a lot of its gasoline for its internal consumption, as well as other military installations. The Israelis responded by essentially killing a person who's responsible for Hezbollah's drone capabilities, and today there was a barrage of rockets which Hezbollah fired into Israel. Israel then responded and said that Hezbollah now is literally at the precipice and they pretty much crossed the line, and that if it decides to take an action against them, it will be a terminal action, one which will end Hezbollah forever and destroy much of Lebanon. To which, of course, Sheikh Nasrallah, who's the head of the spiritual leader of Hezbollah, said that if Israel attempts to do that, Hezbollah will level Israel, and if Israel decides to put its Air Force planes in Cyprus in order to be able to launch them from there so that Hezbollah doesn't hit them in Israel, it will also consider that an act of war by Cyprus, and it will attack Cyprus. Now, why is this a problem? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we've seen the statements that have come out of Turkey. That's Turkey. It's its new name. We've seen the statements come out of President Erdogan with respect to Israel, and specifically Prime Minister Netanyahu. Erdogan feels he has a claim to the northern part of Cyprus, which, of course, he does not. And if this were to happen and Israel were to fly planes from there, more likely than not, Turkey would get involved. And because Greece has signed an agreement, basically a mutual defense pact with Israel, it would pull Greece in as well.
Wow. You know, Mario, I'm hearing all these things. This is really scary. I mean, how much do you think this is rhetoric, or how much do you think, sadly, some of the threats, especially as you were talking about the early part with Hezbollah and Hamas, that's very heightened rhetoric. Is it reality, too, that they're much closer, or is it just verbiage at this point?
Okay, so here's the thing. There's been a lot of hot talk on all sides. And we saw the last time there was, when Israel made a move on the Iranian consulate, Iran did respond. Iran did succeed in infiltrating Israel's Iron Dome. We know 9 ballistic missiles hit Israel, 5 at the Nevatim air base, which is probably one of the most heavily guarded airspaces in the world. And they also hit 4 other ones hit near the nuclear facility that Israel has. So Iran basically told us they know where those facilities are, and we now know that they can actually hit them. The problem is when rhetoric gets this hot and decisions start being taken which are emotional, things can escalate very quickly. And when things escalate very quickly, different sides that have signed different agreements start to get pulled in. That's essentially how World War I started, by the way. So, yeah, I mean... It's tough to say. If you want my opinion, there needs to be leadership in the region. That leadership needs to come from the U.S., and right now that leadership, unfortunately, is lacking.
It's not coming from the U.S. at all.
Yeah, not at all. Really scary stuff.
What's going on? Have you heard anything on the Suez Canal or the Red Sea? I heard that they sunk a Greek boat.
Yes, they sunk one of the Greek tankers. The Greek ship, which was in charge of the 4 European vessels that were there protecting the strait down there, had the principal ship went back to Greece, and a new one has been sent out today. We know that the USS Eisenhower carrier group was there. According to the Houthis, they hit it, but the reality is, I suspect they did not hit it, and I believe the captain of the U.S. aircraft carrier when he says no, we were not hit. Although it has sailed now up, and apparently it's in the port of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia.
Is there any commerce going through the Suez Canal or Red Sea at all, or everything is a standstill?
Very limited. But you see, this is why this was destined to fail. Because if you're a ship owner, okay, you're not going to lose money by sending your ship around the bottom of Africa and up into Europe. Your charter rate's going to go up. You're actually going to make more money. You're not going to make less money. No. So the only person that's going to suffer is the consumer.
But they don't have insurance. I'm sure the insurance company has told them if you go to the Red Sea, you don't have any insurance.
That's correct. So they'll sail around. So, you know, the problem is the situation.
And where does the cost go eventually?
to consumers.
Correct. It's an additional burden and an additional tax on us all, and that's why in Europe right now we have tremendous problems with just about everything across the board, price-wise.
Mario, thank you for the update, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
Let me just give you, if I may, just one last thing.
Yeah,
there is an election in Iran, and this is very important. It's on June the 28th. There are 6 people who are essentially running, 5 conservatives, and there is one person who's a reformist, and a lot of people are hoping that he will actually succeed and pull it off and become the next president of Iran. I think that that's positive. And I would like to leave everybody with one thought that most of you are going to ooh and ah about. The reality is, if President Trump were to win again, I think he should go and visit Iran in much the same way that he did North Korea. And I think that if he were to do that and he were to reach an agreement with them in much the same way he did with North Korea, we would have a much more peaceful and calm world.
Wow, that's a really bold thing. Wow.
Thank you, and we'll catch up again soon. Where are we going now, Rita?
And now we have a New York City Commissioner for Emergency Management, Zach Iscol. Zach, it is hot outside, and you're going to give us an update on what folks need to do because they're calling it feels like temperatures that are in the triple digits. This is obviously scary stuff. It came really early this year. What should we be doing?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you guys for having me on. It's always great to be with you guys. I love listening to you guys. And I probably shouldn't say this on the radio, but I've been doing a lot of press the last few days. The only time my dad calls me to say good job or he's proud of me because he heard me on the news is when he hears me on your show. He listens to you guys all the time.
That's give your dad give our favorite listener then our best, please.
I will tell my 84-year-old dad you guys send him his best. But it is hot out there. And it's going to be hot there for the duration of the week. Not as hot as the initial forecast, but one of the things that we need to be concerned about is just the length of this, the number of days we have in a row with high heat. So initially the forecast looked like we'd have heat indexes approaching 100 degrees. Looks like we might get there on Thursday or Friday. We don't have a heat advisory. We do have a air quality advisory in place today. So it's important that people are taking precautions, staying cool. Set your air conditioners to low cool so you're not overstressing the grid. Don't run your big utilities like washers and dryers during high peak periods of the day. And then most importantly, make sure you're taking care of older adults, folks with disabilities, functional needs, young kids, your pets. Just take extra precautions with them. If you've got a mother-in-law, maybe take her to a museum or the theater tomorrow and Friday to keep her out of the heat.
Well, thank you so much. And tell me, is there anything else to worry about? Does terrorism come under your wing?
We deal with everything in emergency management. And,
is there? Everybody keeps telling us that New York has always been the target. Have you heard anything?
We have not heard anything. We have an amazing head of intel and counterterrorism, Rebecca Weiner at the NYPD. She and her team are really on top of it. They listen to everything. We've got folks deployed in a lot of places around the world. So no imminent threats, no credible threats. But it's something that we're always keeping our eye on, and it's something that we're always looking out for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Zach, so much. It's great to have you here. Keep us posted. And again, give your dad our best, too, please.
I will. Thanks for all you guys do, and it's great to be on with you.
Thanks so much. And, John, I know that you wrapped up an interview that's going to be airing on Sunday with Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas.
You know something? I respect Middle America very much. They have common sense. Middle America from Kansas let's hear it. With us today is Senator Roger Wayne Marshall from Middle America, from Kansas. And, Middle America is pretty much common sense. Senator Marshall, there's so many things going on in our country this week. And there was COVID-19 versus Fauci.
Goodness. Well, let's talk about the origins of COVID for a second. It's kind of back in the news. The House has done a good job bringing out some more pieces of the puzzle. And there's finally the willingness on a bipartisan basis to discuss the origin of COVID. And I think it's important, John, to discuss why we need to talk about this. we need to figure out where we've been to know where we're going. We don't want to ever see a pandemic like this again. And that's why it's important to know, did this come from a laboratory or did it come from nature? It's hard to address the problem if we don't know that simple answer. And I think it's great just to see that most of the scientists, the sensible scientists around the world say, look, this came from a laboratory in Wuhan, China. I think you'd have to be a fool to sit there and think that this came from Mother Nature at this point in time.
Well, in the United States, it ruined our education system for our kids. It killed 1 million Americans. And the doctors didn't have any clue on how to really handle it.
Yeah, and my biggest complaint as a physician myself, I've taken care of thousands of women. I'm an obstetrician with viruses, thousands of pregnant women with viruses, and I knew that one size doesn't fit all. I laughed when they thought that masks would help. I laughed when they said 6 foot of social distancing would help. I laughed when they said that the vaccine would stop the transmission. By that point in time, I already knew. I could just look in my ICU and see that my ICU is full of 50, 60-year-old men and women with type 2 diabetes, not in good health. But meanwhile, there was no children, even though they were getting infected, coming into our emergency room. It doesn't take much common sense to figure out, do we need to close our schools? Probably not. Do we need to close down the nursing homes? Oh, yeah, we need to protect people in the nursing homes. So that was the Fauci, he is God. He knows what science is. As a matter of fact, he is science.
It really crippled our country.
Wow. John, I can't wait to hear the rest of the interview. It's going to be this Sunday on the Cats Roundtable. And boy, there are a lot of questions, Rudy Washington, when it comes to especially Dr. Fauci, who still seems, he was on the hot seat this week and still is kind of saying, no lab leak. He seems to keep ignoring what a lot of experts say should not be ignored. Your thoughts about where that's going?
He wants us to believe some guy ate some monkey meat and the world got sick,
Right. It's incredible. We're going to talk more after the break with Judge Andrew Napolitano. That was a good one, Rudy. And he's going to be talking about the gag order that's still on Trump. What is he going to do with the debate? And also, what could the Supreme Court do at any moment? Remember, I was right. I wasn't sure, but it's the guy.
Welcome to the Flash Finds Podcast, the world's fastest podcast where we explore how Facebook can help you with the stuff you're into. I'm Emma Rogue, and today I'm with Megan, a member of the Unity Skate Collective group. So Megan, what's the best roller skating tip you've gotten from your Facebook group?
That's probably to square your shoulders. It took me a really long time to learn spins, and it was because my shoulders weren't balanced. But if I balanced them out, I got it.
Say less. I will definitely be joining. Thanks, Megan. See you next time on the Flash Finds Podcast, all about discovering the stuff on Facebook you care about. Bye.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at Marines.com.
Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at Ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
If you're looking for plump lips that last, you need to know about Juvederm lip fillers. With Juvederm Volbella XC and Juvederm Ultra XC, your lip look, whether it's subtle or bold, can last up to 1 full year with optimal treatment and no additional maintenance. Find a licensed specialist and see if it's right for you at Juvederm.com today. That's JUVEDERM.com. Add fullness to lips in adults over 21 with Juvederm Volbella XC or Juvederm Ultra XC. Do not use if you have severe allergies or a history of severe allergic reactions, or if you are allergic to lidocaine or the proteins used in Juvederm. Tell your doctor if you have a history of scarring or taking medicines that decrease the body's immune response or that can prolong bleeding. Common side effects include injection site redness, swelling, pain, tenderness, firmness, lumps, bumps, bruising, discoloration, or itching. As with all gel fillers, there's a rare risk of unintentional injection into a blood vessel, which can cause vision abnormalities, blindness, stroke, temporary scabs, or scarring. For full important safety information, visit www.juvederm.com.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. Well, it could come down at any moment. The U.S. Supreme Court deciding on whether President Trump is immune from prosecution because he was president. And he, of course, is saying he has full immunity. It obviously rests a lot on the case of the election interference case in D.C. and classified documents case in Florida. And joining us now to talk about this and so much more is Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, how do you think the highest court is going to rule on this?
Well, good evening, my friends. It's always a pleasure to be on air with you. First, I think the ruling will come down a week from Friday. This is the hottest of the hot-button cases, and Chief Justice Roberts normally saves the case in that category for last. So around 10 o'clock on Friday morning, June 28. I think the court will punt this back to the trial judge and say, look, whatever Donald Trump did on January 6th, that was in furtherance of and in pursuant to his authority as President of the United States was obviously immune from prosecution. If, however, he did anything that was in furtherance of his own personal interests and the government says that that's a crime and it passes the test of motions to dismiss, then that's not immune. Who will decide what was presidential and what was personal? A jury. Where will that jury come from? Washington, D.C. What is the population of Washington, D.C.? About 90% anti-Trump. So you can take it from there.
Wow. So that's interesting because just like you said, separating some of these things is going to be hard, personal versus presidential.
Yeah, but it does mean that there will be, if I'm right, I mean, I could be wrong and the Supreme Court could come down in another way, but if my theory is right, John Roberts, the Chief Justice, has a history of wanting to punt these things, just as he punted on the abortion drug and just as he punted on bump stocks. He didn't rule that either of them was lawful. He persuaded a majority to rule on other ways, on who can write the law and who can challenge the law. So I think he's going to punt this right back to the trial judge, which means there will be a trial. Now, if Trump is elected president, there will be no trial. If Trump is not elected president, as unlikely as that is, but if for some reason he's not elected president, there will be a trial and the jury will make these determinations.
Wow. Now, could it happen? Could the trial, and I'm looking at Judge Weinberg as I ask this question, could that trial, like the D.C. one, could that happen before Election Day? I mean, it's tight, but... It
could, but it's extremely unlikely. You have a trial judge who's not like Eileen Cannon in Florida. This trial judge, whose name is Chutkan, Judge Chutkan, is
Tanya Chutkan.
And she will clear her calendar.
By the way, she already apparently has. Did you hear that? I saw a report earlier today that she's kept her calendar very light for the next few months.
To make this even crazier, Rita and everyone else, earlier this week, Chief Justice Roberts ordered fences with a razor wire to surround the Supreme Court. Now, what the hell does that mean? They're going to come down with something they think is going to be so controversial that they have to keep the public away with the fences and razor wire.
Could he send that down to the border?
No, he can only. That's a great one, Rita. He can only do it at a federal building.
Judge Weinberg.
And it's got to be a federal courthouse.
Judge Napolitano, I have to say I concur in all respects with your offered opinion. I want to change. I think you're absolutely right. They are going to punt. They will send it back to the trial court to make the determination whether it's in the course and furtherance of official duties. I want to raise another issue with you, though. I want to talk to you about the gag order that Judge Marchand issued. They try to go to the New York Court of Appeals, having failed in the state Supreme Court and the appellate division here in New York. They went to the Court of Appeals. Court of Appeals yesterday said that there was no constitutional issue. Seems to me First Amendment issue, interference with an election by suppressing the speech of a presidential candidate is pretty much a First Amendment issue. So I don't know what the Court of Appeals was thinking. But now there's an application that was issued during the trial. Now there's an application by defense counsel, Judge, saying, well, now that the trial is over, shouldn't this be lifted? And please lift this. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree entirely with you. And quite frankly, I'm glad you raised it because I was planning to ask you if you've ever heard of a gag order surviving the end of the trial, because in my 50 years at the bar, I have never heard of one. When the trial is over,
the trial is over.
The gag order to protect the witnesses, to protect the jurors, that purpose no longer exists.
Exactly right. You couldn't be more correct. And why, by the way, why Marchand has to have an application before I'm brought by defense counsel and is delaying it until July 11th is beyond me. He should have done this, as we say in our business, Judge, on his own motion, sua sponte.
And by the way, let's not forget, it's also the debate is coming up next week. He's campaigning. He's not allowed to talk about these things?
Well, he has to be liberated before that debate, Judge Weinberg. Otherwise, he's debating with a crutch in his hands. He has to be, because you know that Biden's going to raise the conviction.
Of course.
And Trump has to have every opportunity to say whatever he wants to rebut what the president says.
And if I were outside counsel to Donald Trump and they said to me, what can I do? I'd say, you go full bore. You say whatever you want on that issue. This is an illegal prior restraint under the First Amendment. The hell with Marchand's order. That's what I would say.
Judge, it is rare that I would say the hell with a fellow jurist order, but I agree with you 100% in this particular case, and he will be vindicated for doing it.
Exactly
the
right.
The appellate division and the Court of Appeals were ruling as if the trial were still going on. That's absurd. Don't they read newspapers? They must know the trial is over.
Yeah, it's preposterous. And to have somebody, again, who's the leading candidate. Now, do you think we'll hear a decision, guys, before the debate? I mean, the debate's less than, it's a week away now.
Judge Weinberg knows better than I how quickly or slowly Justice Marchand will rule and the appellate division will rule. I can't answer that.
I can't imagine.
Will they rule before next Thursday?
What do you think? Weinberg? What do you think, Judge?
Only if they want to do the right thing.
Oh, that's bad.
Which, as we say in our business, Judge, that's assuming facts, not in evidence.
Unless the Supreme Court fears the Democratic Party.
Well,
we're not at the Supreme Court of the United States yet. We're in the state system.
Okay. Yeah. On this one, still right.
John, I share your view, but I don't think this will make its way to the Supreme Court of the United States. Not this week and not that next week. It's their two busiest weeks of the year. So they're not going to hear this before the debate. But the appellate division or the Court of Appeals must liberate Trump, and if they don't, he should accept Judge Weinberg's advice and answer those questions on the conviction however he wants.
I agree.
I think all Americans should agree to that.
Yeah, you can't do a debate and have one hand tied behind your back. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Correct.
It's ridiculous.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Pleasure,
and
guys.
what do we all stand for?
Truth, justice, and the American way.
God bless America.
Hey, it's Joe Piscopo. When you're looking for concrete materials for your next construction project, call Diamondback Ready Mix on Staten Island. This family-owned and operated business is the go-to supplier for concrete materials in New York, New Jersey, and the surrounding tri-state areas. My friends and experts from Diamondback Ready Mix are experts and fully licensed and insured in New York and in New Jersey to deliver ready-mix concrete to your job site. Give them a call today for more information at 718-650-5649, 718-650-5649.